This video is going to be a film study look at some of the more unbelievable plays that Lamar Jackson turned in the Ravens' 31-2 win over the Houston Texans on Christmas Day, pushing Baltimore's record to 11-5, heading into a great opportunity to seal the AFC North division in the final week at home in the rematch against the Browns. I'll also talk about some more traditional concepts that the Ravens utilized as well and ask Lamar Jackson to execute, particularly under center play action concepts. As an aside, I think you have to start talking about how Houston's defensive ends, edge defenders, attempted to stop the option game. Really, they were forcing a give read to Derrick Henry early on. I think D'Amico Ryans was even on record as stating that they wanted to get the football out of Lamar's hands. I think you've got to vary the read up, whether that's by field boundary, right and left, meaning directional, or situation. I think that you've got to be more variable than the Texans showed, particularly early in the game. And in my opinion, that really contributes to the low number of passing attempts that Lamar has at the end of the game. I don't think their game plan was to come in and have him only throw the football 15 times. But once you see the defensive end running at the mesh point, essentially the outside hip of the quarterback, which is a give read, and Derrick Henry tearing them up early on in the first half, he has 94 yards rushing on 15 carries. At that point, if you're Todd Monken and the offensive staff, what would you do? You have successful concepts that are generally simple and easy for our guys to execute. If you don't know much about the option game, or if you've never heard me break it down, at least for what the Ravens do, I will tag that or hold on to that until the end of the video. The last 4 or 5 minutes of the film study portion will be covering two particular option concepts that the Ravens showed, and I'll show a little bit of historical action that they've utilized prior to 2024 as well. Let's get the film started. I won't go through every single play. I'll do a possession-oriented video maybe later in the week. This is something the Ravens have started doing in the last 2 or 3 games, starting Ricard off as a slot tight end out of 21 personnel, and then you end up in what I would call pro far. That's old terminology. Pro meaning tight end and Flowers on the same side, with Flowers acting as the Z, and then the fullback, in this case Ricard, far away from the tight end. It's a dig by Zay Flowers on the backside of a play action concept, and Andrews has got essentially a Klein concept in the middle of the field. He's going to carry one of the inside linebackers here in what looks to be a version of cover 3, and then Flowers is going to bring this dig over the top. The route ends up looking like from this angle it's thrown directly over that inside linebacker's outstretched hands. When you get the end zone view, you'll actually see that on this 27-yard gain, Lamar's got a little bit more of a lane than that all-22 kind of reveals. Ali is in the game, so it's no surprise that we're not necessarily running the football here. I think he got hurt early on. I don't know about you. I wasn't glad to see that, but I was glad to see Keaton Mitchell get opportunities to get the football in his hands. Really nice job of setting the offensive line up to succeed here. So what I mean is you got essentially a double here. Filele on the D tackle, and I think Ricard is responsible for his outside gap. Rosengarten kind of jumping this D end, and then Stanley taking a pass set, Ali working here. So really you've got 2 guys for every potential rusher except for this solo matchup over here. Like I said, I think it's a really nice setup on play action. Lamar in rhythm, clean throwing platform, ball out soon, over the top of the outstretched hands of the linebacker for 27 yards early on. Like I said, that's on the first possession. Great timing, pocket awareness, and opportunity for Lamar really to get the ball out to one of his better playmakers in the case of Flowers. We're going to move forward to the 4th possession here. It's a 2nd and 3. We're up 10-2 at this point in time. So it's pro-Ram. We wouldn't designate near or far if the tight end was on the same side as the fullback, and it's another essentially dig route, shorter dig route on a play action. It's snag smash down here to the bottom side of the screen. Lamar has recognized that he would like to go to the backside. Ends up being a 12-yard gain for Bateman. Quick step by Lamar, almost 3-step in the way he gets his play action done. Out to Bateman, who unfortunately takes a body slam in the process. Like I said, we're on to a 4th possession. We're up 10-2. End zone angle of the same play, so you can see how quickly Lamar gets this football out. One of the things that Greg Olsen did that I actually enjoyed during the game was talk about arm slot angles. And in this case, Lamar's kind of throwing it around 2 of his offensive linemen, one of which is Filele, and I think the other one is Linderbaum dealing with a defensive tackle. Again, perfect location, timing as well, getting the ball out quick, because you've got a clean platform to throw from. This is the first ridiculous play of the game for Lamar. 2nd and 10, it's going to be the completion to Mark Andrews. A lot going on here. We're trying to, first of all, chip Will Anderson with Andrews, who, of course, eventually is the recipient of the pass play. Watch what Will Anderson does to Rosengarten. It's almost like a magic touch. I mean, something happened with Rosengarten's ankle. I think it was his left ankle, ends up getting kind of turned. And even when he gets up, he doesn't look completely, like, mobile there. Maybe it's his right ankle. But to the other side, Henry is going to cross face of Lamar, try to help out with the blitzing. I think it's a nickel defender off the edge, lined up to likely side. Henry loses, and I kind of mistakenly represented this later on. I thought Henry fell after losing. He doesn't. He kind of dives back here, and it's fortunate for us because that's what puts him on the ground for Will Anderson to fall over, almost like a bowling ball concept whereby Henry was able to take a second guy out after the nickel defender beat him. Lamar recognizes the open space, feels the open space, whatever descriptor you want to use, and then flips it out to Andrews, who runs out of gas somewhere around the 30 and gets tracked down. Thought he was going to be able to get a stiff arm out, switch the ball to the outside arm, but he wasn't able to. You really can't quantify plays like this by Lamar, in my opinion. Here's another one. And this is a cool adaptation or evolution. It's unbalanced. So we've got 2 of our tackles on the same side, and then right guard and Andrews back to the weak side. Oftentimes, this is dual read option. So Henry would cross Lamar's face and then likely would zigzag and loop out to the outside, lead up if Lamar kept it. We've given it on this concept this year. We've also kept it. This is actually not the dual read, in my opinion. Likely is just crossing out into the flats. We're trying to see if we can get him open, with Andrews occupying a defensive back. And in this case, the Titans actually didn't identify, in my opinion. From a secondary standpoint, they left the corner and the safety at home, perhaps to defend that dual read option play that I discussed a moment ago. Henry crosses Lamar's face, and you can see that the inside linebacker, corner, and safety trio hold their position. So they were disciplined here. And it's kind of unbelievable that Likely, who's sitting out here near the line of scrimmage, is the player who ends up catching the football in this area. It gives you an idea of how much time and opportunity Lamar created doing this crossover and one stuff to Danielle Hunter. For this to have come, I think, 3 snaps after what he did to get the ball to Andrews, the little flip out in front. And there's some zip on this ball while fading back, and you can see Likely is just now catching the football. Lamar knew it because he was able to survey it well. He's got more time than other people do. That's just reality. Almost reminds me of an old school video game called Max Payne, where you could kind of slow down time. It almost looks like that's what Lamar is able to do in these situations because he does play faster than everybody else. It actually makes things easier for him to get accomplished, clearly. Same view from the end zone angle, and then I'm going to show a couple of concepts. What's weird about this, I'm going to show a couple of similar concepts, usages of this unbalanced line with Andrews or Likely as an eligible tight end backside. What makes it unusual here is the pass pro portion of it. We've got a right guard, and then obviously no one to pass pro because Andrews is releasing out. I think Andrews is the bait. We're trying to force a high-low on the corner. In this case, it's Derek Stingley. Let me get that cut out of the way. My apologies. You can see Derek Stingley's helmet there. Lamar's looking elsewhere for a moment because he saw that Stingley was able to defend both of those for the moment. Likely wasn't wide open initially. There was also a safety there. Lamar retraces his steps, fakes towards the sideline, retraces again, and gets it to Likely. I think that's his 6th touchdown on the year. It may only be his 5th. I'm not sure. I looked at the stats on Pro Football Reference probably before they had updated from last night's game. Now, this is a play concept that they've used a lot in 2024 particularly. Here it is against Dallas earlier in the year to the opposite side. Unbalanced line. Falele, Macari, and Stanley. Macari was playing tackle at that point, right tackle, in fact. Stanley had kicked over, and so you've got the eligible tight end Andrews over there with the left guard. Notice that the running back, Henry, is on the same side as the eligible tight end. Essentially a mirrored version of the play I just showed you. Likely leading out. This is, in fact, the dual read, whereby Likely, and he's got an easy read at this point. The Cowboys didn't even line up to this, so he's just looping to the outside. Lamar's going to keep it. How many times have we seen this on third and short, down in the red zone, inside the 15 or the 10, more specifically, whereby Lamar is following Likely out into the flats? I mean, we know we're not handing the ball off to Likely to run in this direction. It might look like two running backs. Really, it's a running back and a fullback that we know we're not going to give the football to. It was too easy. This was first possession. In fact, it's a red zone play for Todd Monken and John Harbaugh. Moving forward here, still an option concept, and I'm going to talk about width of the diamond fullbacks / tight ends. We're up 17-2 at this point. This really finishes it. This is Lamar's 48-yard touchdown run on a dual read option concept. Andrews is hard-coded, meaning he's going to loop outside. This is not. Look at the posture of Likely and Andrews. Andrews knows where he's going. Likely does not. Likely knows the direction, but he doesn't know the specific path. Am I going to loop to the outside or right around this area? Am I going to go to the inside of the edge defender's path to go pick up the frontside inside linebacker? There's a lot to be said here. Let it flow through one time. I'm sure at this point you guys have probably seen this play from other content creators. I'm traveling this week, so my ability to get content out severely curtailed this morning. One of the things that happened in 2022 with the Ravens diamond or pistol option stuff was the dive used to be on the same side as the quarterback keep. And there was not sufficient width or distance between those two. So what Greg Roman did in 2022, and probably got some contribution from John Harbaugh, is you started to get this natural wind back. So the dive would actually hit opposite of the direction where the quarterback would go if he kept it. That's what happens here. I'm telling you a little bit about the historical usage of it from a Ravens franchise standpoint because I think it still applies to what they're asking Likely to do. If it is, in fact, a dual read with Likely and Lamar, then who's likely going to block? Well, in the old days, that backside fullback, / tight end would loop inside of the edge defender and go get the frontside inside linebacker. Why? Because it was a give. And if the outside linebacker stepped or hedged down, which is what Will Anderson does, then you looped outside. Guess what? You still got the frontside inside linebacker. Why? Because it was a keep. Either way, you had the same responsibility, but it was just a matter of who you were blocking for. It's a cheat code. Lamar makes it a cheat code, first of all. But the concept is a cheat code because you're almost playing 11 and a half on 11. If you don't know much about the option game, that's okay. I wouldn't have either if I wasn't exposed to it by people way smarter than me. You block for the dive, generally. But these two guys, Andrews is blocking for the keep, the quarterback. Likely is blocking for both historically. On this particular version of it, well, the wind back, Henry going in the opposite direction for where Lamar goes on the keep, what would Likely do if Will Anderson steps upfield? Likely wouldn't go outside of him. That's the reason why I call it a dual read. Likely would veer to the inside and go up to what would become the backside inside linebacker. Why? Because it's a give to Henry, and now it's a wind back. That started in about 2022. It was an adaptation that had to occur a little bit in 2021. As it relates to this play, Lamar recognizes the open space right around the 44, 45-yard line. Look, that 48-yard touchdown gives him, I think, 852 for the year. I may have done my math wrong this morning trying to add it up. Here's the midline, something to talk about when you see diamond and you don't get this view from the broadcast, and you're probably not going to get much discussion about it, is it's always quite predictable, the width of the two tight ends. So look at what the Ravens are trying to convince you of, that this is going to be Andrews executing the dual read this side, and Lamar is going to open in this direction. Let me redraw that. My apologies. I get Lamar off the midline by drawing it like that because that's the path that you're going to get from the running back. They're trying to convince you that Andrews is looking over here. It's actually all a farce. Likely is the guy who should be looking here because that's where he's going. We're trying to make you think that this distance doesn't matter. It does. This is immaculately practiced from a timing standpoint, meaning Likely is close enough to Lamar such that he can cross the midline and give him sufficient time to read that edge defender, Will Anderson. You could not get that accomplished if he was going from Mark Andrews' width. And so what I mean when I say that is, look at the distance that you've got there. If you had, I don't know if I'm going to be able to draw a line that's about the same distance. If Likely's inside foot was here and his outside foot was there, roughly what the distance that I judged, or drew, I should say, for Mark Andrews, he would not be able to get here and read this in time to be able to get out in front of Lamar. The timing only works if he is closer, and that's why I say it's predictable for us now in Monday morning quarterback mode, or Thursday afternoon quarterback mode to be more precise. Is it predictable for the defense? I'm kind of shocked that people aren't identifying. I can tell you who did. The Tennessee Titans in our playoff game in 2000 after the 2019 regular season. They were literally pointing and hedging their linebackers over. They recognized that out of the diamond formation at least, the tight end / fullback that was closer to the quarterback, within arm's reach, essentially he and the quarterback could reach out and touch each other. Andrews and Lamar could not in that previous play that I just showed you. They recognized the directional tell or pattern that was there if it was going to actually be an option concept. Could have been a pass play or something else, and that was why I think there was a necessary change to the direction of the back, meaning a wind back concept had to be utilized more so after that loss at home against Tennessee in 2020, or January of 2020. Hopefully I explained that in a way that makes sense. Look at a couple of more instances of this concept. This is at home. Notice where Todd Monken is using it. I mean, we can really deconstruct his call sheet from here. We're on the 9-yard line, which is the same exact place we were in against the Cowboys and the same exact place we were in last night when we tried to run an option play to Likely, make it look like an option play, and then throw it out to him in the flats. The ridiculous magical play that Lamar made to juke Danielle Hunter at least once, if not twice or 3 times, and get Likely free on a 9-yard touchdown. So option is something that Todd Monken's call sheet has in it for certain parts on the field, because you don't want to use Lamar to get down the field between the 30s. You want to use him to put the exclamation point on the drive. Same concept here. Andrews, Likely, and when you get the end zone angle, you'll be able to see the width of it. Notice the running back, Justice Hill. He's starting to wind this back in the opposite direction. I almost wonder if this one was called to keep, but there's a little bit of a cross block nature here. So Andrews veers to the inside, Likely loops to the outside, probably as a result of a count that they're using, counting from the outside in, from the sideline in. But in any case, Lamar keeps it, gets into the end zone. We'll give the end zone angle and let you look at the width again. Really great view of it there. Perhaps I should have drawn it at their feet. My apologies. Midline over. You can see the differential in the width of their inside feet. Another way to do it would be Andrews' inside foot is thatched to the outside foot of the guard versus Likely his inside foot and outside foot are both essentially stacked on the left guard. Basically, Likely can get to this side of the field faster, clearly, than Andrews could get to this side of the field, and that's why their width is different. Again, it's very rare that teams have identified it. Good, smart NFL defenses, for whatever reason, haven't been able to identify that out of diamond. Another way to think about it is, what if Andrews were not here? Historically, if it was just Ram or Lion, this would be Lion. If Likely and Hill were there, but Andrews is not, the option would be to this side. Again, it's all timed up. It's all coordinated such that the backside tight end / fullback, in this case Likely, can get to that side of the field in such a timing pattern to loop out in front of Lamar and give him the best opportunity to get some space in the event that there is a lead blocker who shows up. Now, let's do this another way, and I want to talk about the first play of the game as it relates to the option. Forgive me if I didn't cover those plays in depth enough for you. Please let me know in the comments section if you think there's some things I missed or that you'd like to see me explain further as it relates to at least my understanding. Again, rely on multiple content creators to talk about all facets of the game, not just the option game. This is first play of the game, and it's a dual read, but there's a difference here. So it's Ricard who's getting this done, and I think he's a little slower, at least on this instance of it. Now, he's done this for years. In fact, he was utilized in the backfield out of our dime and stuff. Notice he's not there soon enough. But where's he going? Well, the edge defender is running right at Lamar. So it's a give read. Easy, right? So why would Ricard loop to the outside to block for Lamar when, if you accept my assertion that that he is reading it just like Lamar is? He wouldn't, because he knows it's going to be a keep. They practice this. Ricard, Andrews, likely all practice it. Probably Kolar as well. But in any case, he's just too slow getting there. Slow first step with that left foot, and then not much acceleration here either. So that's why the spacing has to be correct when we are in the diamond, where likely or whoever would be away from the read side has to be close enough to Lamar that he could insert underneath of the edge defender if he forces a give read, or loop around to the outside if he forces a keep read. Hence why I call it a dual read. In this case, Ricard is reading it. Henry actually pushes him downhill a little bit more, like get out of my way. It's a great concept. We can get things done. The 3 technique to the read side makes it a little less clean, but they handle it really well here. Tackle takes over the 3 technique. Left guard, Macari, who does better with combo blocks. He just does not, for my money at least, does not do as well with solo blocks. In any case, that's the difference with the dual read in terms of the width. Do I think that Ricard is too wide there? No, you can get it done from that width that I just showed on the first play of the game. I believe it was the first play of the game. Maybe it was the second. I think the Texans really showed us and showed other teams how not to defend the option game. This was not an option video, but in my opinion, the reason why Lamar's passing output was suppressed on Christmas Day was because the Texans came in with a plan, apparently, to force us to give the football to Derrick Henry 20, 22, 24 times or more. First of all, thank you for that, because I believe, and I'm sure you probably believe it as well, we are incredibly effective when Henry is operating as the jab or the straight right, for that matter. And that allows Lamar to be the left hook, the uppercut, have less usage, be shown less frequently, which in some ways can make him more deadly, more dangerous for the defense to try to deal with. Forgive me if I didn't cover the option portion of this video in depth, or maybe you're of the opinion that I covered it too much. I will have further offensive film study videos out. Like I said, this one was kind of difficult to get coordinated and attempt to produce this afternoon. Let me know if you appreciated it. If the sound quality was poor, please communicate that in the comment section. Again, I'm recording off-site in an unusual location. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at Lamar Jackson's performance in small sample size, 15 passes, only 4 rushes, one of which was a scramble, if I recall correctly. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this video, please consider grabbing a link to it, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.